The news was still playing on the tiny kitchen TV in the background, but my focus was on the smudge of lipstick on my upper lip. I leaned into the mirror near the dining area and dabbed at it with the corner of a tissue.
"Did you hear about that forest thing?"
Hilda called from the living room, loud enough to cut through the buzz of the television.
"They're saying some weird animals were spotted out there last night. Like, really weird. Not just bears or coyotes, something darker."
I glanced over my shoulder, one brow lifted. Dark animals? What does that even mean? What, like depressed raccoons? Hilda burst out laughing from the couch, tossing her perfectly curled hair over one shoulder. She looked like she'd walked out of a magazine cover, strapless silver dress hugging her body just right, heels to die for, and makeup that made her look like she'd been airbrushed. Typical Hilda. Gorgeous and effortless.
"Amelia,"
she said between laughs,
"I'm serious. The report said people weren't sure they were animals at all."
I smirked and turned back to the mirror. My dress was a dark red, hugging me softly around the waist with a tasteful hint of curves. Not too much, just enough to remind myself I could look good when I wanted to. I'd gone light on the eyeshadow, a subtle brown shimmer that brought out the gold tones in my hair, and a soft gloss on my lips that made them look fuller. No fake lashes, just mascara and confidence. Well, the kind you fake until you feel it. Maybe it's just some guy in a costume trying to scare hikers, I said, smoothing my dress down at the sides, like one of those viral prank videos.
"You always do this?"
Hilda said, getting up and grabbing her clutch.
"You act like you don't care, and then 2 days later, I find you knee-deep in YouTube rabbit holes about it."
I laughed, caught red-handed. Okay, maybe, but it's all nonsense. That forest's been around forever. If there was something creepy in there, someone would have found it by now.
"Maybe someone did,"
she said with a dramatic raise of her brows.
"and they just didn't make it back out."
That made me pause, just for a second. My fingers froze on my hairbrush. I didn't let it show, though. Curiosity was a personal thing. I never liked showing it. Whatever, I shrugged. Tonight's about you, birthday girl. She beamed at that and did a playful spin.
"Damn right it is."
We left the house just as the sky turned that soft lavender blue. Our heels clicked on the pavement as we headed for the metro. The air was cool, not cold, just enough to make me wish I'd brought a jacket. We passed the edge of the neighborhood where the sidewalk curved, and that's when Hilda pointed across the street.
"That's the forest they were talking about,"
she said, voice a little lower now. It looked the same as always, dense trees, tangled branches, the kind of place kids dared each other to run into for playing. Nothing unusual, but still, something about the way the breeze moved the leaves made me pause, just for a second. I still say it's a load of crap, I said with a shrug, though my eyes lingered a little too long.
"Sure you do,"
Hilda smirked.
"Just don't go running in there with a flashlight like last time you got obsessed with that haunted gas station story."
I didn't go running in there, I shot back. I walked, casually. We both laughed again, but inside, my mind was already working. I'd seen enough mystery documentaries to know when something didn't add up. And that forest? It had a vibe tonight. Something about it looked still, like it was waiting. I didn't say it out loud, but I'd already made the plan. Tonight, after the party, I'd go back, alone, with my camera. The metro ride was quick. The club was already pulsing with music by the time we got there. Colored lights dancing on the sidewalk, bouncers checking IDs, the works. We slid in with no trouble. Hilda's birthday meant VIP wristbands, free drinks, and a little table near the back, where we could actually hear each other talk. She was glowing, and I loved seeing her like that. She deserved it. There wasn't a fake bone in her body. The second we stepped past the second velvet ropes, a wave of music and flashing lights wrapped around us like we were stepping into another universe. The bass hit low in my chest, and the colorful strobe lights danced across Hilda's sequined dress, making her sparkle like a disco ball. I leaned closer and half shouted, Okay, now it's officially a party. Hilda grinned.
Wait till you see the dance floor.
I took a sip of my drink and leaned back in the booth, watching everyone move on the dance floor. The bass vibrated through the soles of my shoes. It felt good to be out, felt normal, but I couldn't stop thinking about that forest. I caught myself staring toward the exit once or twice. My curiosity had claws, and it was digging in deep. Then Hilda took me to the dance floor. Somewhere between my bad dance moves and Hilda trying to get the DJ to play early 2000 hits, I quietly decided, tonight, after everyone goes home, I'm taking my camera and going into that forest. Already planned. Just for a look. Nothing crazy, just a peek. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find out what those so-called dark animals really were. Even if I didn't believe in monsters. Something about tonight felt like the start of one. We hadn't made it 5 steps before 2 familiar figures waved us down near the corner booth. Our girls.
Amelia! Hilda!
One of them squealed. That was Tessa, tiny, loud, and always dressed like she had her own reality show. She wore a black crop top with silver hoops swinging from her ears. Beside her was Riley, chill as ever in her leather jacket and combat boots, sipping something neon green through a straw.
You two took forever,
Riley said, raising a brow.
We were fashionably late.
Hilda answered with a wink, looping her arm through mine.
Tell me you already ordered shots?
Tessa held up a tray.
You know I got you.
We all clinked glasses. The liquid burned on the way down, but settled into something warm and reckless. I missed you guys, I said, leaning back into the booth, the music buzzing under my skin. I needed this.
And you wore that?
Tessa eyed me with a grin.
Girl, someone's getting attention tonight.
I glanced down at my dress, the deep red one hugging my curves just right, a teasing dip at the neckline. I shrugged playfully. I just threw it on.
Uh-huh.
Riley smirked.
Threw it on after a 2-hour debate and 3 outfit changes.
Okay, fair, I laughed. The DJ switched tracks, the beat speeding up like the room's energy just leveled up.
That's our song,
Hilda said, grabbing my hand.
Come on!
We dragged Tessa and Riley with us, weaving through the crowd to the center of the dance floor. Lights flashed, bodies moved in sync, and suddenly I wasn't thinking about news reports or mysterious forests or beautiful boys watching from across the room. For a few minutes, it was just us, dancing, laughing, wild in the moment, carefree, almost. Because even as I lost myself in the music, I felt those eyes still watching me, somewhere out there in the crowd, and it made my skin hum.
You see that guy in the gray sweater?
Hilda whispered across the rim of her cocktail glass, eyes locked on a tall guy near the bar.
He's been checking you out since we walked in.
I squinted. That one. He looks like he just got off work at a tech startup and hasn't slept in 3 days.
Okay, fair. What about the guy next to him, with the arm tattoos?
He's cute, I admitted, sipping my drink. But those tattoos scream still healing from an ex. We both laughed, Hilda nearly choking on her drink. Her eyes sparkled under the club lights.
You are so picky,
she said.
You should have come out with me more often. San Francisco is crawling with men who need emotional damage to feel hot.
I'm not picky, I said with a smirk. I just like my disasters a little more organized. We clinked our glasses. Mine was some strawberry cocktail with a sugar rim that I didn't even ask for, but it tasted sweet enough to keep me sipping. That's when I saw them, 2 of them, both at different corners, like they'd been pulled straight out of some moody drama with high-budget lighting. They weren't talking to anyone, just standing across the club near the velvet rope, as if they didn't need to mingle because the whole damn room had already noticed them. Okay, I said, leaning in. Now they don't look like anyone's ex.
Who?
Hilda followed my eyes, then her lips parted.
Whoa! Who are they? Mysterious boys or something?
The first one, I'd find out later, was in this shining blue coat, white button-up underneath, tucked neatly into tailored black trousers that fit like they'd been stitched straight onto him. His jawline was razor sharp, and those eyes, dark blue, intense, like the ocean just before a storm. Not that I'm a poet, but damn. The other one wore this deep brown leather jacket that screamed money. His trousers were Gucci. I saw the tiny label near his belt. And his hair? Slick, not greasy. Just perfectly set like he stepped off a cologne ad. He had that quiet, dangerous energy. Elegant, yes, but with something rough around the edges.
"You're welcome,"
Hilda said proudly, as if she'd summoned them from thin air. I don't even know which one I'm staring at, I said, still trying to breathe normally. Is that legal?
"They're not just handsome.
She whispered.
They're unfairly handsome."
They don't look like they're from around here,
"Nope.
she agreed.
They look like they came out of a vampire reboot or a European fashion war."
I laughed, trying to act casual while completely losing my cool inside. They're not looking at me, I said, pretending to fix my hair.
Yes they are."
Hilda snapped.
"Brown jacket. He's watching you like he's deciding which playlist to put you on."
That's not even a real thing, I said, blushing.
"Okay, fine. He's watching you like you're a puzzle he can't wait to solve."
I stared back, just for a second. James was leaning against the corner post, arms crossed. His eyes didn't move when I looked. He just tilted his head slightly, like he already knew I'd end up walking over. And that smirk? Trouble. Beautiful, expensive trouble. Then the blue coat guy moved, shifted slightly, and when his eyes met mine, something clicked. His stare wasn't playful. It wasn't cocky. It was calm, measured. Like he was trying to read me, not seduce me. And that somehow felt worse, in a good way. I turned quickly back to Hilda. Okay, I'm officially confused,
"That brown jacket handsome wants you,"
she said.
"but that blue coat looks like he's about to write poetry about you."
Don't make this harder, I replied.
"Fine.
She grinned.
Then I'll make it more fun.
Oh no, I muttered.
I dare you to flirt with one of them."
I blinked. Excuse me?
"You heard me. Pick one, walk over, and flirt. 5 minutes. No chickening out."
This isn't middle school.
"Nope, it's Club Road, and I'm your best friend on her birthday, and this is my official wish."
You're using your birthday wish on me, embarrassing myself in front of 2 supermodels?
"Yes,
She said with a devilish grin.
and you're welcome."
I looked back toward them, still there, still too perfect, still watching like the world was slow except for whatever they were seeing in me. I took a breath. All right, I'll go to that brown jacket first. Hilda squealed.
"Yes, I love this for us."
Then I'll talk to the blue coat, I added.
"Oh, a double play. Bold move.
Don't hype it up, I'm just testing the water,
I'll order us another round while you work your magic."
she said, already flagging down the bartender. The music swelled. The lights spun. I finished the last sip of my drink and smoothed the sides of my dress. My palms were slightly sweaty, but I wiped them on my clutch. No one would notice. I started walking across the club floor, weaving through people, my heels clicking with every step. The man in brown jacket. His eyes never left me. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just waited like he knew this moment was his, like he'd been expecting me. Okay, breathe, I whispered to myself, fixing a stray strand of hair near my cheek before I stepped into the cozy little cafe tucked off Mission Street. It smelled like espresso and warm pastries, and the soft jazz playing in the background felt like it belonged to a different lifetime, one where people casually dated instead of accidentally spiraling into something way deeper than they meant to. He was already there, the man in brown jacket, sitting at a corner table, sleeves rolled up like he didn't even try, but somehow managed to look like he walked straight out of a magazine ad. His fingers were wrapped around a ceramic mug, and his eyes, those ridiculous dark amber eyes, lit up the second they landed on me.
Hey,
He said, smiling, standing halfway like a gentleman.
you look... wow.
I smiled, playing it cool, but my cheeks felt warm. You say that to every girl who orders coffee with you?
Only the ones who wear leather boots and ask for 2 sugars without blinking.
I laughed, sliding into the chair across from him. That was one time. He leaned in.
It was unforgettable.
That's how it started. One coffee turned into hours. We talked about music, old memories, the time I fell off a bike when I was 8 and pretended it was part of a stunt. He told me about how he grew up on the coast, small town, big sky, always feeling like there was something waiting for him just beyond the waves. And the weird part? It didn't feel like we were trying. We weren't performing. We were just there, 2 people with a hot drink and a bunch of things we hadn't said out loud before. He leaned just slightly closer, his drink resting in his hand like it belonged there, like he belonged here. The bass from the music thudded in the background, but somehow the noise felt far away.
You've been looking at me like you're trying to solve a riddle.
He said, that little smirk playing on his lips. I tilted my head, half grinning. Maybe I am. You look like someone with a story. He chuckled, deep and warm.
Fair enough. I'll give you the first page.
He held out his hand, his fingers long and strong, a silver ring catching the soft light.
I'm James, just James. No middle name, no crazy last name, no secret spy title. Yet.
I placed my hand in his. His grip was cool, confident. Just James, huh? He didn't let go right away.
Unless you want to give me a better name.
I laughed, low and soft. You don't look like a Mike or a Danny, so James it is. He raised a brow.
And you are?
I bit the inside of my cheek, pretending to think like I was giving away state secrets. Amelia. He repeated it like it was a song lyric he wanted to remember.
Amelia, that fits. You don't look like someone who follows the crowd.
You don't look like someone who's used to chasing girls, and I shot back playfully. He leaned in just enough for me to catch the hint of his cologne.
I don't chase, Amelia. I notice.
My cheeks heated, but I held his gaze, unblinking. Well, now that you've noticed me, what are you going to do about it? He smiled, slow and sure.
Ask if I can keep talking to you a little longer.
My friend is waiting, and I have to go now, I replied with a smile. James nodded his head and bowed his head in response. Then I stood up and walked. And just like that, it didn't feel like a party anymore. It felt like the start of something. By the time the music faded into the background and the buzz from my last drink softened into a warm haze, I looked at Hilda and grinned. My cheeks were probably still flushed from laughing too hard and talking too much with James, but I didn't care. I think I'm done for the night, I said, tugging my clutch under my arm. That last drink was definitely unnecessary. Hilda leaned into me, her heels clicking unevenly on the floor.
Girl, same. My legs hurt, my head's a balloon, and I can't feel my left foot. Let's bounce.
We stepped out of the club, the air hitting us cooler than expected. I blinked up at the streetlights, the night oddly still except for the low city hum. We were both wobbling a little, laughing at nothing, arms looped together like we were kids again. You and the brown jacket guy, huh? Hilda teased, bumping my hip with hers. I rolled my eyes, smiling. His name is James, by the way. And yeah, he's different.
Different good or different? You need to run.
I shrugged, still floating in the way he looked at me like I wasn't invisible for once. Different good, I think. We kept walking, heading toward the metro entrance we always used, right past the edge of that old patch of forest, the one that always looked like it didn't belong in the middle of the city. I was too caught up in replaying everything James said. The way he leaned in when I talked, the subtle compliments that didn't feel rehearsed. His voice was still in my head. Then Hilda stopped.
Wait, did you hear that?
I blinked, coming back to earth. Hear what? She turned her head slightly toward the trees.
Something moved. Right there, like Not far in?
I glanced lazily toward the forest line, but honestly, it looked the same as it always did. Quiet, still, creepy in the usual way. Hilda, you're drunk, I laughed. It's probably wind or your imagination acting dramatic again.
No, I swear, something moved.
She insisted, narrowing her eyes. I kept walking. If it was a forest monster, it's probably on break. Let's go. My feet are killing me. She hesitated a beat longer, staring into the dark like it owed her an explanation, then huffed and followed me. When we finally reached my house, the porch light was still on. Figures. Mom and Dad could never sleep if I was out late, no matter how old I got. Hilda gave me a quick hug before I could even turn the knob.
So, are we just not gonna talk about Mr. Bluecoat?
I blinked. Who? She raised her brows.
The other guy, blue suit. Eyes like a freaking painting. Remember?
Oh my God, I burst out laughing. I completely forgot about him. She laughed too, pulling away.
That's what James did to you? Damn! I mean, you were the one pointing him out. I just got distracted.
Well, you better hope the blue coat guy doesn't have feelings, because y'all ghosted him hard. We both laughed again, still tipsy, still dizzy from the whole night. Then she waved and started down the street toward her house. I slipped quietly into mine. Mom was sitting on the couch with a half-finished cup of tea. Dad was half asleep in his chair with the news playing low on the TV.
You smell like whiskey,
Mom said, glancing at me over her mug. It was Hilda's birthday, I said, taking off my heels immediately. Don't judge. She didn't say anything else, just gave me that mom look like she was holding back a paragraph. But I knew she wouldn't push it tonight.
You okay?
Dad asked, not even opening his eyes. I'm good, just tired. I padded into my room, dropped my clutch on the dresser, and pulled off my dress with a sigh. My head was spinning, not from the alcohol, but from him. James. The way he looked at me, the way I couldn't stop thinking about him. I slipped into my favorite soft tee and cotton shorts, wiped off my makeup, then flopped down onto the bed, hair fanned out on the pillow. For a split second, I thought about the forest, that sound Hilda heard. But James' smile came rushing back, replacing the unease. And then I drifted off. I woke up way later than I'd planned. My head was a little cloudy, not from the drinks, I wasn't that far gone, but from all the thoughts swirling about James. His voice, the way he looked at me like I wasn't just another girl in a party crowd. It was ridiculous how he stuck to my brain like a catchy song. I pushed the blanket off and stretched, letting out a sigh. My legs felt heavy, my arms even heavier. I shuffled toward the bathroom, half asleep, and turned the tap. A warm shower usually helped me reboot my brain. Steam rose around me while I scrubbed off last night's makeup, shampooed the party out of my hair, and wrapped myself in the biggest towel I had. Back in my room, I pulled open my closet and slipped into my favorite simple white blouse and navy blue skirt. It wasn't designer, but it looked smart enough. I tied my hair into a low ponytail and went for a nude lipstick. I wanted to look professional. I was planning to hit up at least 3 stores and 2 small offices for job leads. I slung my bag over my shoulder, said a quick bye to Mom, who was too busy rearranging the spice rack to ask questions, and stepped out into the sun. The day was bright, too bright, like the kind of morning that dares you to be productive. I was halfway across the road, flipping through Google Maps for the next store to try, when it happened. A car zoomed past, way too close to the sidewalk. It hit a pothole and splashed. "Oh, come on," I yelled, jumping back. My whole side, skirt, blouse, and even my bag, got speckled with brown mud. A sloppy, sticky mess right before the first interview. The car didn't stop. Just kept speeding like it hadn't just ruined someone's dignity. "Hey, seriously," I shouted, raising my hands, but that guy was gone in seconds. People around glanced for a second and looked away like drama was part of the weather. I looked down at my clothes and groaned. There was no way I could walk into an interview looking like I'd fallen into a swamp. I glanced around, desperate for anything. That's when I spotted a store right across the street. Glass front, mannequins, soft music playing inside. I didn't even look at the name, I just walked in. Rows of stylish outfits, all hung like art pieces. The air smelled expensive. The kind of place where even socks cost more than my entire breakfast budget for a week. I wandered toward a display of dresses, praying they had some clearance rack in the back or something. One dress caught my eye. A soft teal professional dress, pencil fit, with a neat belt around the waist and folded sleeves. It screamed, "Hire me," in the classiest way. I flipped the tag. Nope. There went the budget. It was almost 5 times than what I could afford. I turned to walk away, about to pretend I'd just taken a wrong turn.
Amelia?
I froze. That voice, smooth, confident, familiar. I turned around. James? Of course. He was standing there, just a few feet away, looking as put together as always. Dark jeans, fitted gray tee, and that same sharp look in his eyes, like he saw more than you were letting on. He looked me up and down, catching the mud stains instantly.
Tough day.
You could say that, I said, forcing a smile. Was just heading to some interviews. Then a maniac driver thought I needed a mud bath. James chuckled.
And you came here for a wardrobe rescue?
Honestly, I didn't even realize where I walked in. I was just looking for any store. Then I saw that dress. I paused. But nope, not in the budget. He glanced at the dress rack behind me.
That one?
He asked, stepping toward it. His fingers touched the same dress I was drooling over a second ago.
Good choice. That color would look great on you.
My face heated. Well, I was thinking about it, but before I could finish, James waved over the attendant.
Can you get this in her size? And the fitting room ready?
My mouth dropped a little. Wait, what?
You can't walk around like that, Amelia.
He pointed at the blotches of mud like it offended him.
You'll scare the interviewers.
James, I wasn't planning to buy it. It's expensive. He smiled.
I didn't say you had to. I got it.
I blinked. You're buying me a dress? He tilted his head, that same confident spark in his eyes.
Unless you'd rather go interview for jobs looking like you lost a fight with a puddle.
I didn't know what to say. My brain was short-circuiting. He added,
Look, you don't owe me anything. It's just a dress. Think of it as lucky job armor.
I let out a breath and laughed. You're something else, James. He smirked.
Now go change. I want to see if I guessed your size right.
I took the dress from the attendant and walked to the changing room, my thoughts a mess. Who was this guy? We had only one real conversation, and here he was, calm as anything, buying me a designer dress like it was just a coffee. Inside the changing room, I slipped into the dress. It fit like it was made for me. I stared at myself in the mirror and felt like a whole new version of Amelia, one who had her life together. I walked out, adjusting the belt around my waist. James smiled.
Told you. That color was made for you.
I rolled my eyes, but I smiled too. All right, you win. Thanks. Really. We walked out together, and as we reached the sidewalk, he looked at me.
Mind if I get your number?
He asked casually, like he hadn't just upgraded my entire morning. I pulled out my phone, handed it to him. Sure, fair trade for a dress. He typed quickly and handed it back.
Looking forward to hearing how those interviews go.
Maybe I'll even get a job thanks to my lucky armor, I said, glancing down at the teal fabric.
You will,
He said.
and if not, we will figure something else out.
I turned and headed the shop I was looking for my interview job, but they said they don't have any vacancies. Then I headed home. This guy was seriously messing with my brain, and I wasn't sure I minded. In the evening, my phone blinked. James texted me at 10. James asked,
Dinner? 7 p.m.? Don't say no.
I laughed and typed back, me. Only if you promise not to quiz me about classic rock again. James asked.
No promises. Wear something that makes me stare.
I rolled my eyes, but still spent a solid hour figuring out which dress walked the line between casual and yes, I look good and I know it. I went with a soft beige wrap dress and gold hoops. Subtle, confident. Like me, if I wasn't currently panicking about what to do with my hands when I saw him. The restaurant was warm, the kind of place with low lighting, brick walls, and waiters who knew just when to show up. James stood when I arrived, pulled out my chair, and that stupid grin on his face made my stomach flip in the best way.
You clean up nice,
He said, raising a brow. You already said that, I teased.
I'm just consistent.
Dinner was slow, not in a boring way, more like we didn't rush. I talked about my failed job interviews and how my mom kept trying to casually bring up marriage over breakfast. He shared his weird obsession with crossword puzzles and how he always buys mango juice but never drinks it. Why do you buy it then? I asked, laughing.
I think it's the dream of liking mango juice, not the juice itself.
That is so weird.
You love it.
Maybe I did. Later, that night, at home, I tiptoed into the house, and of course, Mom was waiting like she hadn't been peeking through the blinds.
You're late.
She said, pretending to fold laundry that wasn't even hers. It's not that late, Mom.
So, how's James?
I blinked. Wait, how do you know his name?
You think Hilda didn't spill the beans?
She smiled. He's handsome and polite. He came to the door. He also opens car doors, Dad said, suddenly appearing with a half-eaten sandwich.
That boy's got manners. Finally, someone with sense.
Oh my God, I groaned, heading to my room.
But you like him, right?
Mom called. I paused at the stairs. I like him. Dad chuckled behind me.
We'll start shopping for a tux.
Dad. And just like that, Kay went to sleep. Every day after that just kept happening. We met up for walks at the pier, late-night drives, sharing fries at a diner that stayed open way too late. He'd say something dumb, and I'd pretend to be annoyed, but my cheeks would betray me every time. One night, we were parked by the edge of the city, skyline glowing like something out of a dream. I didn't expect this, I said, arms tucked under my coat.
Didn't expect what?
You, United States, this weird thing we're doing. He looked at me, real serious for a second.
Maybe weird's what we needed.
And I didn't say it, but I kinda agreed. The next morning, Hilda and me, we were on my bed, eating chips and going through her phone when she looked at me sideways and said,
Okay, what's going on with you?
What do you mean?
You've been smiling at walls. You hum now. You never hum.
I smirked. James is, I don't know, it's easy with him.
You like him.
She sang, throwing a pillow at me. Maybe.
You so like him, and he likes you back. I can feel it.
I hugged the pillow and stared at the ceiling. Yeah, maybe I did. And maybe that was the start of something way bigger than I could see coming. The sun was out, but not warm. One of those weird San Francisco days where the sky looked pretty, but the wind had a bite. I pulled my jacket tighter and kept walking, my resume folder tucked under my arm, trying to look confident even though I was heading to my third job inquiry of the day. The street I was on curved near the edge of the city, brushing up against the woods. You know, the same forest where people had been whispering about animal sightings and strange howls at night. I usually avoided this route, but I was running late, and the shortcut cut 10 minutes easy. I passed by the thick patch of trees, barely looked that way, until something pulled my attention. I don't know what. A shift in the shadows, maybe. I turned my head and froze. There he was, a man, half hidden behind a tree. Black hoodie pulled up, mask covering most of his face, just standing there, angled slightly like he was trying not to be seen, but absolutely watching me. I swallowed hard and picked up my pace, trying not to make it obvious. My boots clicked faster on the pavement, and I cursed myself for wearing heeled ones. I didn't look back until I hit the next block, right where the trail curved toward the shops. My eyes flicked to the trees. He was there again, behind a different tree, much farther ahead than he should have been, still watching me. What the hell, I whispered to myself. I didn't wait. I bolted straight into the first open place I saw, a cozy little cafe with fogged windows and jazz humming softly inside. The attendant greeted me with a smile. I barely smiled back. My hands were a little shaky as I ordered a small cappuccino and slid into a seat by the window, just so I could see if that guy was still out there. And he was. Standing at the edge of the sidewalk, face tilted slightly, peeking in from the corner of the window like he was part of the shadows, watching me. I blinked, looked again. He was gone. Gone like he'd never been there. My breath caught in my throat. And then, the bell above the cafe door chimed. A tall man walked in. Blue coat, sharp jawline, messy dark hair that somehow still looked intentional. He scanned the room once, then walked over and sat down right at the table next to mine, without even asking.
Amelia,
He said, his voice deep and calm like velvet and warning all at once. I stared. Do I know you? He smirked slightly.
Antonio, I'm the guy you were staring at in the club a few nights ago.
My eyes narrowed. Okay, weird move. What do you want?
I want to tell you a story.
He said.
A real one, not some fairy tale.
I leaned back, instantly suspicious. Then it hit me, his eyes. They were the same ones. The same eyes I'd seen watching me from behind those trees. Same sharp color. Same stare that felt like it knew things about me I hadn't told anyone. My stomach dropped. It was you, I said quietly. You were in the woods, watching me. Why? Why were you trying to scare me? And how the hell did you move that fast? You were behind one tree, and the next second, another one way across, like you just skipped space. He didn't even flinch.
That's not the real trouble here.
He said low.
You need to listen. I'm only here to help you.
I shook my head. I don't need any help. I don't even know you. Please leave. He leaned in slightly, his tone tight.
You're not getting it. You should have chosen me that night. Or maybe someone else, but not him.
My heart skipped. So now you're trying to force me to fall for you?
Not at all.
He said quickly.
But
I didn't wait for the rest. I stood up, grabbed my coffee cup without even taking a sip, and walked straight out of the cafe. My boots clicked on the sidewalk, each step faster than the last. I didn't look back, not even once. I headed straight home. The day passed thinking about that strange man Antonio. But that evening, my phone buzzed just as I was halfway through folding laundry on my bed. I grabbed it, already grinning when I saw James pop up on the screen. Hey you, I said, flopping onto the bed and holding the phone close.
Hey, gorgeous.
He said, that slow, smooth voice of his instantly melting my mood.
Got plans tonight?
I raised a brow, even though he couldn't see it. Depends. Are you asking to ruin them?
I was thinking more like upgrading them. Dinner, at my place, just you and me, and maybe some chocolate lava cake.
I sat up, heart doing a somersault. Wait, like official dinner, with real food and tablecloths? He chuckled.
Yes, Amelia. I promise it's not just cereal in a fancy bowl. I'm pulling out the good stuff.
I kicked my feet up like I was 16. Okay, yeah, I'm in.
I'll pick you up at 7.
I'll be ready. He paused.
Dress comfy, but also hot. You know, like you always do.
I laughed. I'll see what I can do. We hung up and I jumped off the bed like the floor was lava. I ran to the mirror, held up 3 dresses, threw all 3 down, then pulled out my dark green one, the one that fit like a glove but didn't scream try hard. I curled my hair, added a little extra mascara, and dabbed on perfume I usually save for special occasions. By the time the clock hit 7, I was standing at the window, peeking through the curtain like a teenager waiting for prom night. Then, his car, sleek, black, shiny. He texted, "I'm outside." I grabbed my clutch, shouted a quick, "Bye, Mom," and ran out the door before she could ask 100 questions. James stepped out of the car when he saw me and leaned on the hood, eyes scanning me from head to toe.
Wow.
he said, smirking.
I said hot, not devastating.
I walked up, twirling once just to show off. You clean up okay yourself, billionaire. He opened the door like a gentleman.
Shall we?
We shall. And just like that, I slid into the front passenger seat, my dress smoothing underneath me, nerves buzzing with excitement. Tonight was our night. When James parked in front of that massive house, I just stared. I mean, I'd known he was rich, sure. He wore designer watches like they were socks. But I hadn't expected this. There was a fountain in the front yard. A real one. The kind that had a marble angel spitting water like it was no big deal. The driveway curved like a racetrack, and the house itself? It looked like one of those old European estates you see in travel magazines. White stone, giant windows, perfect hedges trimmed into shapes I couldn't even name. James got out like it was normal.
Come on.
He said, walking around to open my door like a damn movie hero.
Don't be scared.
I'm not scared, I lied, smoothing down my dress and glancing at my reflection in the window. Just surprised. You didn't tell me you lived in a museum. He laughed.
It's just a house.
James, I said, standing up and looking at the huge building. This place could fit a high school inside. He grinned.
I didn't measure it when I was 12.
I laughed, even though I was still processing it all. The second we stepped inside, it was like I entered another world. Polished marble floors, chandeliers that sparkled like they were showing off. There was even a grand piano sitting in the foyer, like someone was about to burst into a concerto. A man in a suit took James's coat. Another woman offered me a drink on a silver tray. I blinked. Wait, do you have staff?
Yeah.
He said like it was the most boring thing in the world.
Don't worry, they're chill. You hungry?
Before I could answer, a voice sliced through the air like a butter knife.
James, darling, who's this?
I turned toward the staircase. A tall, elegant woman descended in a satin gown like she was on a red carpet. Diamond earrings, hair pulled back like she just stepped out of a magazine. Her eyes locked onto me, and I felt like I was being scanned by a laser.
This is Amelia.
James said casually.
We've been seeing each other for a bit.
She didn't even offer a smile.
Oh, I see.
Then, to me,
You're casually dressed.
ouch! I looked down at my dress. I thought I looked cute, but next to her, I might as well have walked in wearing pajamas. James stepped closer to me.
She looks beautiful.
Of course.
His mom said with a smile so fake I could hear it crack.
Different taste. That's refreshing.
Before I could fire back something smart, another voice joined us. Deeper, sharper.
James,
A man called from the hallway, stepping into view.
you didn't say you were bringing company.
His father, I could tell just from the way he stood. Confident, polished, judgy. Hi, I said, trying to be polite. I'm Amelia. He barely looked at me. Seriously? That was it?
Dad,
James said, his tone turning firm.
we're just hanging out. Don't make it weird.
His dad gave a tight smile.
Of course. Make yourself comfortable.
He said it like he'd rather I evaporate. I took a breath. Nice place you have. His mom arched a brow.
Yes. Well, it's been in the family for generations. We try to keep the standards high.
I smiled, but it didn't quite reach my eyes. I can tell. It's beautiful. She looked at my boots.
Not everyone sees the effort.
I was about to say something sharp, but James stepped in front of me a little, like a shield.
Mom, Dad, we're going to go up to my room for a bit. Don't worry, doors stay open.
You know the rules.
His mom said crisply.
Yeah,
James said, giving me a wink.
We'll behave.
His room was on the second floor, down a long hallway lined with paintings that probably cost more than my car. When he opened the door, I just stood there. Holy crap! It wasn't just a bedroom. It was like a luxury suite in a hotel. floor-to-ceiling windows, a massive bed with white sheets and 20 pillows, a TV the size of a wall, and a leather couch near the fireplace. You live like this every day, he chuckled.
It's just where I sleep.
I walked over to the bookshelf, running my fingers across the spines. You have first editions,
I like books,
he said, stepping closer.
but you're kind of distracting me from showing you the view.
He walked me over to the window. Outside, the backyard looked like a resort. Pool, tennis court, a garden that probably had its own gardener. I leaned on the glass. I thought you were just rich. You're billionaire rich. He smiled.
Would it change anything?
I looked at him. Not about how I feel, but it's a lot to take in. James's eyes softened.
I get it, but I'm still me.
He reached for my hand. My fingers brushed his, and I didn't pull away. There was something about the way he looked at me right then, not like a guy who had everything, but like a guy who really wanted me to see him. He stepped closer, slow, deliberate. My breath caught when his fingers brushed my cheek. I didn't look away.
I've wanted to do this for a while.
He said, voice low. I tilted my head just a little. Then why haven't you? His hand moved to my waist. My skin felt warmer. My whole body leaned toward him on its own. His face got closer, so close. I could feel the heat between us, the pull that had been building for weeks. Our lips were barely an inch away. Knock, knock. I jumped.
James?
His mother's voice came from the other side.
Dinner's ready. Bring your friend.
He let out a breath and stepped back, rubbing the back of his neck.
I swear she has timing radar.
I laughed softly, trying to act cool even though my knees were practically jelly. We should go. Downstairs, the dining room looked like it belonged in a palace. A long table with candles, silverware placed perfectly, chairs so tall they made me feel small. James pulled out my chair for me. His parents sat across the table like they were judges in a talent show. His mom smiled.
So, Amelia, what does your family do?
My dad's a high school teacher. My mom stays at home. She raised a brow.
Oh, humble.
It keeps us grounded, I said. His dad folded his napkin.
And you? Are you working?
Currently looking. I'm exploring some career options. His mom's voice was sugary.
That's nice. You'll want to figure that out quickly, of course.
James looked at them.
She's figuring things out just fine.
I touched his knee under the table, just a little. Enough to say thanks. Dinner went on like that. A battle with forks and fake smiles. They asked polite questions with sharp edges. I kept my head up. I wasn't going to let two people with diamonds the size of grapes shake me. After dessert, James walked me out. He didn't say much until we reached the car.
I'm sorry about them.
He finally said.
They're not usually like this.
Yes, they are, I said. They don't like me. It's fine.
They'll come around.
I'm not here for them. He looked over at me.
You're here for me.
I met his eyes. Of course, he grinned. The ride back was quiet but warm. He kept glancing at me. I caught him more than once. When we pulled up outside my house, he stopped the car and he was going to kiss on my cheeks. But there my mom was already at the door like she'd been waiting. So again he pulled back. She smiled when she saw James and walked out.
Hi there.
She said, brushing her hair behind her ear.
You must be James.
He got out, walked over, and no kidding, took her hand and kissed it.
Pleasure to meet you, ma'am. You raised an amazing daughter.
I swear my mom almost fainted.
Well,
She said, blushing.
aren't you charming?
It's late,
He said.
but I'd love to come by another time.
We'd love that.
My mom said. He turned to me, smiled, then leaned in and whispered.
Next time, no interruptions.
I smiled. We'll see. He got in and drove off. My mom stared at his car until it disappeared.
You didn't tell me he was that good looking.
I did, I said, stepping inside. She turned to me.
He's a good choice.
I slipped off my boots. We're not a choice yet.
You've been seeing each other for over a month.
I still want to know him better. She tilted her head.
You think too much.
I think just enough. Then I said, Mom, I think his parents don't like me. She leaned on the counter.
Then here's some advice. If his parents don't like you, bake a cake. Or pretend to like whatever weird thing they're into. People like people who like their stuff.
I laughed. So fake it.
No, play the game smart.
I smiled, kissed her cheek, and went to my room. My hands still remembered the warmth of his. My face still remembered how close his lips had been. And I couldn't stop thinking about next time. Sleep came quick. I woke up with that weird feeling, like someone was watching me. Not the dreamy kind. The kind that made your skin itch. My eyelids were still heavy, but the second I turned to face the window, I nearly stopped breathing. Antonio. He was standing right outside, at the corner of the window, just looking in. His face was blank, not smiling, not frowning, just watching, like he'd been standing there all night waiting for me to open my eyes. I froze. My room felt colder, and not because of the weather. I didn't even scream. I just stared at him for a second, my heart racing a mile a minute, and then scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over my throw blanket. Mom, I yelled, bolting down the stairs barefoot. She was in the kitchen making tea, wearing her fluffy robe and slippers like it was just another lazy morning.
Amelia?
She turned around, holding her mug.
What's wrong?
There's a man, Antonio. He's outside my window. He was watching me, Mom, just standing there like a psycho. Her face dropped. She put the mug down fast.
Stay behind me.
We stepped outside together. I was shaking like crazy. My eyes darted around the yard, scanning the trees, the street, everywhere. But he was gone. Just like that. Like he vanished into thin air again. Mom looked around, then back at me.
There's no one here, sweetie.
I swear he was right there, I whispered, looking straight at me. This guy's been following me since yesterday.
You need to call someone. The police, maybe.
No, I said quickly. Not yet. I need to talk to Hilda first. I rushed inside, grabbed my phone, and called Hilda. She picked up on the second ring. Hilda, I said breathlessly, pacing the living room. You remember that guy from the club I told you about? Antonio? He's been following me. I saw him yesterday in the woods, then again at a cafe. And now he was outside my bedroom window. There was a beat of silence on her end.
That's creepy as hell,
Hilda said.
You gotta tell James about this.
I was going to. I will, I muttered, rubbing my temples. But I've got an interview in an hour, and I need to shower and get out of here first.
Amelia, I'm serious,
she said.
I am coming, but don't wait too long. That dude sounds dangerous.
I know, I whispered. He gives me the worst vibes. I hung up and tossed my phone on the bed, heading to the bathroom. My hair was a mess, and I barely recognized the tired girl in the mirror. I started brushing it out, mentally rehearsing my answers for the shop interview. But few minutes later, then my phone rang again. Hilda's mom. Hi, Mrs. Torres, I answered, still brushing my hair.
Amelia, sweetie, I need a little favor. Hilda forgot her house keys when she went to your place. I'll be at work all day and she won't be able to get in. Can she stay at your house until I'm back?
I froze. What?
She left a period. Didn't she come?
No, she's not here. We talked on the phone, but she never came over. Silence.
But she said she was going to your place.
I felt my chest tighten. She's not here, ma'am.
Oh no,
she whispered. I hung up, immediately dialing Hilda's number again. Nothing. Straight to voicemail. Once, twice, 3 times. Her phone was off. I tried texting her. Nothing delivered. I stared at my phone, my fingers numb. Something felt wrong. Really wrong. I didn't even care about the interview anymore. Logically, and called James. He answered after 2 rings, his voice calm but serious.
Amelia?
I need help, I said, pacing again. It's Hilda. She's missing. Her mom said she left for my house, but she never showed up. Her phone's off, and Antonio was outside my window this morning, watching me, like a complete freak. There was a pause.
I'm coming over right now.
James said.
We're gonna find her, I promise. But who is Antonio?
He is the guy from that club. I mean, that night when we met first, he was staring at me, but now he is behaving weird, James replied.
Don't worry.
And for the first time that morning, I didn't feel completely alone, but that didn't make the knot in my gut go away. Because something had happened to Hilda, and I wasn't sure who or what we were dealing with anymore. The whole day felt like a blur. James and I had checked every single place we could think of. Hilda's favorite cafe, the library, the park, even that little thrift store she liked digging through. We kept calling her phone over and over, but it was still off. My mind kept twisting with worry no matter how much James tried to calm me down.
She's smart,
he told me as we walked down Main Street, our feet moving faster than our thoughts.
If anyone could get out of something, it's Hilda.
I tried to believe that. I really did. But every second without her felt like someone was dragging me through wet cement. After another 2 hours of driving around, asking people, and checking alleyways and shops, we were finally heading back toward my house. I sat in James's car, staring out the window in complete silence when something caught my eye. Wait, stop, I said, grabbing James's arm. He pressed the brakes hard and we jerked forward slightly.
What? What happened?
I opened the car door without saying a word and stepped out. Just a few feet away, lying on the side of the gravel path that curved toward the forest, was a pair of sandals, pink ones, Hilda's favorite. I picked them up with shaky hands. These are hers, I whispered. She was here. James stepped beside me, his eyes fixed on the dense trees ahead.
This is the forest from those news reports, right?
Yeah, I said, my voice barely coming out. The one with the weird animal sightings. James looked around, scanning the treetops like he was expecting something to pop out.
We shouldn't go in. Not right now. It's almost dark. This place isn't safe.
I wanted to argue, but he was right. If Hilda had already been dragged into that place, I couldn't risk getting caught too. So we left. But the weight of those sandals in my hands made my skin crawl the whole ride home. I told everything to Mom, and then I sat on the edge of my bed, still holding Hilda's sandals like they would give me some answers. James had stayed until the sun dipped low, but even he had to leave eventually. He promised to come back tomorrow to look again. I just couldn't sleep. So when the front door burst open around 9 p.m. and Hilda came running in, my heart just about jumped out of my body. Hilda, I ran to her, hugging her so tightly she had to catch her breath. Where were you? We were looking everywhere. Are you okay? Did someone hurt you? She pulled back, wide-eyed and panting. Her hair was a mess, her jeans were torn near the ankle, and her shirt had dried mud on the hem.
I'm okay,
she said quickly.
Amelia, I swear, I'm okay. But listen, you need to hear what happened.
My mom asked.
Hilda, my child, are you all right?
Hilda nodded. My mom called Hilda's mom, but I dragged Hilda into my room and we both sat down, knees almost touching. Talk to me. She took a deep breath and rubbed her temples.
I don't know how to explain it. I was walking toward your place, and then someone grabbed me from behind. Not hard, just firm. He didn't hurt me, but he didn't let me go either.
What? Who was it?
I don't know. He wore a black hoodie the whole time, and a mask. I couldn't see anything, just his golden eyes. And they were not normal.
As soon as Hilda whispered,
He wore a black hoodie and a mask, something inside me clicked, fast and sharp, like flipping on a light switch in a pitch-black room.
Antonio. It had to be him. The way he stared at me from the trees, showed up at the cafe, called himself the guy from the club. It all lined up. The golden eyes, black hoodie, mask. The strange way he moved. the feeling that he was always one step ahead, like he knew where I'd be before I did. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. I just swallowed hard, keeping my face calm as I leaned in and let Hilda keep talking. My heart felt like it wanted to scream his name, but my head was too busy trying to figure out why he was watching me, why he wanted me to choose him. So I frowned. Not normal, how?
Like golden, bright golden. And he never really said anything straight. He kept pacing, mumbling stuff about how he needed to meet you, that something was coming. He wasn't after me, Amelia. He was after you.
I stared at her. Why me?
I don't know, but listen,
she said, grabbing my hand.
The weirdest part wasn't even what he said. It's what I saw.
What did you see? She hesitated, her voice lowering to a whisper.
He changed.
I blinked. Changed?
Shifted. His body started transforming. He turned into this huge creature. Fur, claws, everything. Like something out of a werewolf movie.
I swallowed. You're serious?
I barely escaped. I don't even know how I got out, but I ran like hell and didn't stop. But Amelia, that thing, whatever he is, it's not about me. It's about you.
My mind spun in circles. A man in a hoodie. The forest. The same masked guy who scared me outside the cafe. Antonio. It had to be him. Did he say anything else?
Just that you made a mistake. That you were supposed to choose him.
Hilda rubbed her face.
What does that even mean? Did you meet him before?
I bit my lip. Yeah, at the club. He came up to me, said his name was Antonio, that I should have chosen him.
Creepy,
Hilda muttered.
He's obsessed with you.
My throat dried out.
I think he's dangerous. I don't think he wants to hurt you. Or I don't know that. Maybe he is dangerous for you, but I also don't think he's gonna stop.
We both sat there, trying to make sense of it all. And I knew I had to tell James. Whoever or whatever Antonio was, he wasn't going to stop at scaring me from behind trees. He was coming for me. And we had to be ready. But I didn't interrupt her. I let her talk, every word wrapping tighter around my chest. Something about how he wasn't there for her, but for me. That was the part that truly shook me. Why me? After Hilda drifted off to rest, I stood by my bedroom window, arms crossed tight against my chest. My reflection looked smaller than I remembered. I wasn't special. I wasn't powerful. I was just Amelia, a girl with a resume full of rejected job applications and a life full of questions. I wasn't a werewolf. I wasn't anything close. And now I was apparently the obsession of one, and maybe more than one. Antonio had kidnapped Hilda just to get to me. That wasn't just weird, it was terrifying. But why he didn't kidnap me? I grabbed my phone to call James. My thumb hovered over his name, but something made me stop. I couldn't explain it. Instead, I grabbed my jacket, slipped into my boots, and turned to Hilda, who was half asleep on the couch. I'm gonna walk you home, I said softly.
Now? You sure?
She mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Yeah, let's get you home safely. We walked in silence most of the way. I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get worse. Like the ground under my feet wasn't as steady as it used to be. After dropping Hilda off and making sure her mom was home, I headed toward James's house. Something was off before I even got close. The streetlights near his place were dimmer than usual, like they were deliberately fading. His mansion, normally grand and glowing, looked darker, muted, like it was hiding something. I slowed my pace, stepping quietly off the sidewalk into the line of trees across the street. His front lawn was completely empty, neither staff, neither cars, just silence. I crept closer, slipping into the edge of the woods that bordered the side of the estate. Leaves crackled beneath my sneakers. But I stayed low, heart hammering, not in fear exactly, but in this gut-deep sense that something was about to change. Then I saw it. Movement near the side of the house, the window. James. He stepped out from a back door, shirtless, barefoot. His chest rose and fell like he was breathing heavy, like he was trying to calm something. Then it happened. Right in front of me, his body jerked. Bones shifting, I froze behind a thick tree trunk, barely able to breathe. My hand was shaking, but I forced myself to pull out my phone and hit record. I didn't care if it was blurry. I needed proof. Not for anyone else. For me. I needed to know I hadn't lost my mind. His back arched, his fingers stretched and curved unnaturally. His skin rippled like waves beneath the surface, until hair, no, fur, started growing in thick black-gray streaks across his body. His face elongated, nose stretching out into a snout, his eyes glowing wild amber under the pale moon. He dropped onto all fours, a full-blown, towering werewolf. The werewolf, James, sniffed the air, then darted off into the woods behind the house. I crouched lower, breath shallow. He was hunting. I waited until the last sound of crunching leaves faded. Then I ran. Not toward the house, not back through the main road. I bolted through the opposite side of the woods, cutting through hedges and fences until I reached the far street, lungs burning. By the time I reached the sidewalk near my block, I leaned against a lamppost and pulled out my phone again, staring at the video. There he was, shifting, changing, turning into something not human. My head was spinning. Antonio was a werewolf. Now James was too. Were they both after me? And why didn't James tell me? Why did he act like he was protecting me when he had secrets just as dark? I looked back at the dark silhouette of his mansion from the hill. Suddenly, I wasn't sure about anything. I didn't sleep a single second that night. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was James, his body twisting, breaking, reforming. That growl, those sharp claws digging into the dirt, his glowing amber eyes, the way he sprinted off into the woods like a beast that had been caged too long. And it wasn't a dream. It was real. I had the video on my phone to prove it. I curled up under my blanket, clutching my pillow like it was some kind of shield, heart pounding louder with each creak in the house. Morning couldn't come fast enough. When sunlight finally broke through the curtains, I dragged myself out of bed like a ghost, still wrapped in fear and confusion. My legs felt heavy, my thoughts even heavier. I barely remembered walking to the bathroom, but the cold shower helped wake up something inside me, maybe courage, maybe more panic. I didn't know. After throwing on a pair of joggers and a soft hoodie, I grabbed my phone and dialed the only person who might actually understand. Hilda. "Hey, it's me," I said as soon as she picked up.
Amelia, you okay?
Her voice was warm but cautious. I need to tell you something big. Can you come over? She didn't hesitate.
Be there in 10.
10 minutes later, Hilda walked into my house, holding 2 coffee cups and that usual worried look on her face.
You sound like you saw a ghost,
she said, setting the cups down. I didn't say anything. I just pulled out my phone, opened the video, and handed it to her.
What is this?
She murmured, hitting play. The moment the transformation began, her eyes widened. She sat down slowly, like her knees were giving up.
That's James,
she whispered. Yeah, I said quietly. She watched the whole thing, every distorted bone, every growl, every claw. Her face was frozen in confusion and something deeper, fear.
Amelia, he's a werewolf?
I nodded, arms crossed over my chest. I saw him last night, at his house. He had no idea I was there. He changed and went into the forest, like hunting.
But he never told you?
No, not even once. Hilda looked from the phone to me, as if trying to confirm that we were still living in the same reality.
Why would he hide something like that, especially from you?
I opened my mouth to answer, but before a word left my lips, there was a knock on the front door. We both froze. Don't move, I whispered, standing up. Another knock, slower this time, more deliberate. I peeked through the curtain. James, He was standing there like he wasn't the same person who had just turned into a literal werewolf the night before. Hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Hilda stood behind me, eyes wide.
You think he knows we know?
I don't know, I said, hand trembling as I opened the door a crack.
Hey,
James said, his voice calm.
can I come in?
I hesitated.
I think we should talk.
He added gently. I looked back at Hilda. She gave a reluctant nod. I opened the door fully. He stepped in, glancing between both of us.
You saw me last night, didn't you?
Silence. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck like he was carrying a weight on his shoulders.
I know how it looked. I know you probably think I'm a monster, but I promise you, Amelia, I never meant to scare you.
I crossed my arms, not ready to soften. Why didn't you tell me? James looked straight at me, his voice low but honest.
Because I didn't want to lose you.
I blinked.
You're the first person I've ever actually fallen for, Amelia. Genuinely, deeply. And I thought if you saw what I really was, you'd run. And I couldn't stand the idea of that.
I stayed quiet, processing every word.
I'm not like Antonio.
He added quickly.
He's not like me.
Hilda raised an eyebrow.
You know about him?
James nodded.
That's why I came. I wanted to talk about everything. Clear the air. Tell you both the truth.
We sat down in the living room. My hands still felt cold, but James's words, his expression, felt real, not fake, not like someone hiding another dark layer. Hilda leaned forward.
So you really love her?
James looked right at me.
With everything I am. Even the parts I hate.
His answer did something weird to my chest. It stung a little. After a long pause, Hilda sat back and sighed.
Okay, fine. I believe you. But what about Antonio?
James's jaw tightened.
That's the part I need to explain. But not here. Not in your house.
Why not? I asked.
Because it's darker than you think.
He said.
And someone could be listening. We're not the only ones involved anymore.
A chill crept down my spine. James stood up and looked at both of us.
There's a cafe a few blocks away. Come with me. We'll eat, and I'll tell you everything. From the beginning.
I exchanged a glance with Hilda. Then we nodded. Let's go, I said. Because honestly, I needed answers. And I had a feeling the truth was way, way bigger than just James. Or Antonio. The morning sun stretched lazily across the sidewalks as we walked in silence. The three of us, me, Hilda, and James, headed toward the nearby cafe. But it didn't feel like any normal walk. Not for me. Each step felt like I was crossing some invisible line between the world I thought I knew and the one I was being dragged into. Beside me, James walked with his hands in his jacket pockets, his eyes scanning the road ahead. There was something calm about him, but underneath that calm was something sharp, alert, like he was always listening. Hilda stayed close to me, stealing quick glances at James, like she was still trying to convince herself he wasn't the enemy. We turned the corner when James suddenly stopped and pointed to the forest in the distance, the same forest that had haunted the news for weeks now.
You see that?
He said. I nodded. Yeah, what about it? He exhaled slowly.
That's where Antonio lives.
What?
Hilda said, stopping in her tracks.
He's not just hiding in the city or stalking from shadows.
James continued, his voice low.
He lives in that forest, alone. And the news you've been hearing, the so-called animal attacks, that's him, hunting.
My heart dropped into my stomach. You're serious? I whispered. James nodded.
People think it's some wild animal, maybe a wolf that escaped from some secret zoo or a hybrid. But it's not. It's Antonio. He hunts animals, and when he's starving or angry, he doesn't care if it's human either.
Hilda's mouth parted slowly.
So it was him. In those news stories?
Yeah, I muttered. That explains why the forest gave me such a creepy vibe that day I found your sandals, Hilda. James kept walking, and we followed. After a beat, Hilda hesitated, then asked what we were both thinking.
So, if Antonio hunts people, what about you, James? Do you hunt?
James turned his head toward her and gave a quiet but firm response.
Never. I made a choice when I was younger. I don't feed on people or animals. I survive in other ways. It's a long story, but I've never taken a human life.
Relief washed over me like a warm breeze. I reached out and brushed my hand against his arm. He glanced at me, and for a second, I saw that softness behind the storm inside him. Finally, we reached the cafe. It wasn't busy, just a couple of college students with laptops and an older couple sipping black coffee by the window. James led us to the back corner where the lighting was dim and no one could hear our conversation. We slid into the booth, and James waited until the server brought us water before he leaned in.
I didn't just bring you two here for coffee,
he said.
I needed to tell you something. A secret. Something bigger than everything we've talked about.
I felt my pulse rise again. What is it? He looked me dead in the eyes.
Antonio is cursed.
What?
Hilda blinked. James nodded.
When Antonio was 20, he was dating a werewolf girl. Beautiful, strong, but she wasn't the only one. He was cheating on her with another woman, and she found out. On the night she discovered the truth, she cursed him.
I leaned forward. Cursed him? How?
She said, "The day you marry a werewolf, it will be your last. You'll die the moment you spend the first night."
I swallowed hard.
But here's the thing.
James continued.
She didn't realize that her curse wasn't airtight. She forgot to say what would happen if he married a human. Antonio found a loophole. If he marries a human, someone like you, Amelia, he thinks he can break the curse and live. But the human who marries him may be in danger. I mean her life.
My stomach twisted. So that's why he's after me, I whispered. James nodded.
He's not in love with you. He doesn't even care about you. To him, you're a key, a way out. If he marries you before his 32nd birthday, he lives. If not, the curse takes him. And believe me, if not you, then some other women will be trapped.
How old is he now? I asked, my voice barely audible.
31,
James said.
He turns 32 in a few months. After that, he can't marry anyone. His ancestors has strict rules, ancient ones. They forbid marriage after 32. So he's desperate.
I leaned back, my mind spinning. So what do we do now? I asked, barely able to think straight. That's when James stood up slowly. He reached into his jacket pocket, eyes never leaving mine. And then he pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it. A diamond ring sparkled in the light like it was made of stardust.
Marry me,
he said.
Right now, today, tomorrow. I don't care. Just say yes. Because I'm not trying to escape a curse. I'm trying to keep you safe.
My hands flew to my mouth. I gasped, then nodded, tears welling in my eyes. Yes, I laughed through the happy tears. Yes, James. Hilda clapped, her face lit up with excitement.
Oh my God, you two, this is perfect.
He slid the ring onto my finger and kissed my hand gently. I had never felt more protected in my life, more sure. After we left the cafe, we walked together in peace. There was still danger, sure, but now we had a plan, a bond, something solid in the middle of the chaos. When we reached my house, James paused by the gate.
We'll plan the wedding as soon as possible,
he said with a smile that melted my knees. Then he hugged me tight, kissed my forehead, and walked off into the afternoon light. Hilda wrapped her arms around me.
Girl, you just said yes to a werewolf.
I laughed. I know, and somehow, it feels right. She winked.
Well, I'm your maid of honor. Don't even try to argue.
Then she left too, and as I stood there, watching the sunlight hit my diamond ring, one thought echoed in my mind. Antonio may be desperate, but he doesn't know who he's messing with. As soon as I stepped into the house, I caught the sound of my mom's voice drifting from the kitchen. She was mid-conversation with my dad. Something about me again.
She's 26. We can't delay it forever. It's about time she settles down.
My mom said, sounding a little stressed.
Well, we're not just marrying her off to any random guy, Lisa. She's our only daughter.
I leaned on the doorframe and grinned. My lovely parents, I called out. I've got an announcement for both of you. They both turned to me, startled. My dad raised a brow and said,
Don't tell me you like girls now. Or worse, you've decided to never marry and just adopt 10 cats.
I rolled my eyes with a laugh and crossed the kitchen, giving him the biggest hug and planting a kiss on his cheek. Dad, I'm getting married. His whole face lit up like the 4th of July. His arms went around me so tight I could barely breathe.
What? Are you serious? Oh my God, Lisa,
he said, turning and hugging my mom next.
She's finally getting married.
I laughed. You're acting like I was cursed or something.
Not at all,
he said.
But I was starting to think you were allergic to commitment.
Dad, I groaned playfully.
Who's the lucky guy?
He asked, though I could see it in his eyes. He already knew. With James, I said softly. He nodded proudly.
That's what I was hoping.
But I added, I want you and Mom to meet him tonight. Talk to him yourselves. I trust your instincts more than mine. If you feel something's off, I'll listen. My mom stepped closer, her expression gentle but firm.
We're proud you think that way, Amelia. Just know, we won't hand you over to just anyone. Love isn't enough. Character matters. We'll test him.
I smiled. Deal. My dad clapped his hands together.
Invite him for dinner tonight. We'll see what he's made of.
Already on it, I said, pulling out my phone. We all sat down at the table together, and I had breakfast with them, eggs, toast, and black coffee for me. My dad was talking about some guy he once worked with who had to meet his girlfriend's dad by surviving a 2-hour grilling over whiskey and politics. I just laughed nervously and prayed James wouldn't get that version of the test tonight. After I finished eating, I went upstairs and flopped on my bed, calling James. He picked up almost instantly.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey, I said, grinning. So you've officially been summoned.
Oh?
You're invited to dinner tonight at my place. My parents want to meet you, like, for real. He chuckled nervously.
Okay, I'm in. Just let me know what time. And I'll do my absolute best to impress them. Pinky promise.
I'll text you the details and wear something parent-friendly, okay? He laughed again.
No leather jacket and wolfish charm. Got it.
After I hung up, I called Hilda. Hey, I need a dress for tonight.
Say no more, girl. I'm on my way.
Within 20 minutes, Hilda and I were at the mall, checking every boutique we could find. After trying on 4 dresses I didn't vibe with, I finally found the one. It was a soft mauve wrap dress that hugged me just right and had this elegant but casual vibe. I looked like myself, but better.
James is gonna faint,
Hilda teased as I twirled in front of the mirror. You think so? I blushed.
Girl, yes. You look like a future wife.
We headed home afterward, bags in hand and spirits high. But the second I stepped into the house, something felt different. The warm energy from this morning had thinned. The living room was quiet. The sunlight through the curtains looked a little duller. My dad had already left for work, but my mom was sitting alone at the dining table, her cup of tea untouched. Mom, I said, walking up slowly. What's wrong? You don't look happy like this morning. She looked up, her face still, her eyes kind of distant.
Nothing,
she said softly.
Just wondering how you'll look in your wedding dress.
I smiled and walked over to her, hugging her tightly from behind. I'll look like you, Mom. Very beautiful. She didn't smile. She just stared at me for a moment, like she was looking through me. Hilda, standing near the door, caught the mood shift too.
Well, I'll leave now,
she said, trying to lighten the vibe.
But don't worry. I'm crashing dinner tonight, whether I'm officially invited or not.
You better come, I said, half laughing, half hoping she actually would. Hilda waved and left, her heels clicking against the porch before fading away. I turned back to my mom. Her eyes were still on me, quiet and unreadable. Mom, I said slowly, are you sure everything's okay? She exhaled sharply and stood up.
When you went shopping, a man came by.
I blinked. A man? She nodded.
Very handsome, very well dressed, but strange. The kind of strange you feel in your bones before your brain even figures out why.
My chest tightened. What did he say?
He asked for you by name, said he already knew you weren't home. He came here on purpose, Amelia. He wanted to come when only I was here.
Chills ran down my arms. What did he want? My mom's voice trembled just slightly as she looked at me, her words clinging to the edges of worry.
Amelia,
She said, sitting back down at the dining table. Her tea had gone completely cold by now.
he said something.
I stayed standing, frozen in place. What did he say? She looked straight into my eyes and repeated his exact words.
Amelia should have chosen me instead of that James.
My stomach twisted. I swallowed hard. He said that? She nodded slowly.
So I asked him, who are you? And why do you think Amelia should have chosen you? I was trying to stay calm, but he gave me this unsettling smile.
What did he say then? I asked, even though I already had a horrible guess.
He said, I'm Antonio. And believe me, ma'am, James is not the person you all think he is.
I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. What did he mean? My mom nodded again.
He didn't explain anything else, just handed me his phone number, told me to call him if I ever started doubting James, and then walked away like he had all the time in the world.
I sucked in a breath and sat beside her, placing my hand on hers. Mom, I have to tell you something, and it's gonna sound insane, but you need to trust me, okay? She narrowed her eyes, listening closely. So I told her everything. The truth about Antonio being cursed. How he betrayed a werewolf girlfriend when he was 20. How she cursed him to die if he married a werewolf. How he figured out he could survive by marrying a human, me. And that's why he was obsessing over me. And James, I said, gripping her hand tighter. He told me all this because he didn't want to hide it from me. He has not perfect, but he's never hunted anyone. He has never hurt anyone. And he loves me. My mom blinked, processing it all. After a long pause, she nodded slowly.
You mean James is a werewolf? Okay, I believe you.
I couldn't tell if she really meant it or was just trying to keep me calm. But either way, I appreciated that she didn't start panicking. I went straight up to my room and closed the door behind me. Then I called James. He picked up after one ring.
Hey, sweetheart.
James, I said quickly. Antonio came to my house.
What? When?
Earlier today, when I was shopping with Hilda. He came when I wasn't home, like he knew I'd be gone. He talked to my mom, told her I should have chosen him, said you're not who we think you are. James went quiet for a beat, then spoke with controlled calm.
We have to get married, soon, before he gets more desperate.
I agree, I whispered.
I'll make sure tonight goes smoothly,
He said.
I'll be there at 7.
Evening came faster than I expected. I was busy in my thoughts all day, and I was already dressed in the mauve wrap dress Hilda and I had picked out. I stood by the window, waiting like some cliché movie scene, and then I saw him. James stepped out of his sleek car, dressed in a navy blue button-down shirt that hugged his broad shoulders just right, sleeves rolled to his elbows, paired with dark slacks and polished boots. His hair was styled perfectly, and when he looked up at my window with that small smirk, my heart almost burst. I met him at the door. My dad opened it before I could and greeted James with a firm handshake.
James, good to see you.
Dad said with a smile that was half welcoming, half challenging.
Thank you, sir.
James said.
It's a real honor to be invited.
My mom gave him a polite smile, but I noticed her watching him more intently than usual. She was trying to read him like a mystery novel. The dinner was simple: grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, roasted veggies. But the conversations were anything but simple. My dad asked about James's family, his upbringing, his career. James answered each one with honesty, grace, and enough charm to soften even my mom's stern demeanor. He spoke about his family's traditions, how he now managed some of their old estate properties, and how he wanted to open a center for abandoned animals one day. I could see the sincerity in his eyes. Even Hilda, sitting beside me at the table, kept giving me side eyes like, "Girl, he's killing it." By the end of dessert, my dad leaned back in his chair and said,
All right, tomorrow, we would like to visit your parents. We would like to know where you come from.
James nodded without hesitation.
Absolutely, I'd love that.
The next day, just before my parents were scheduled to visit his place, I went over first. James picked me up, and when we arrived, I took a deep breath as I stepped into his massive, elegant home. His parents, dressed like royalty, were seated in the drawing room, calm but clearly skeptical. I smiled, shook their hands, and talked to them like I was already their daughter-in-law. I complimented his mother's taste in decor, helped serve tea, and even shared a few funny stories about James that made her laugh out loud. By the time my parents arrived that evening, things were already warmed up. But one thing to mention, that my future in-laws were now accepting me, and that was a great thing for me. The formal introductions were made, and everyone gathered in the spacious living room. James's mom and my mom talked like old friends. My dad and James's dad got into a deep conversation about literature and music, and James and I just sat there, sneaking glances at each other, smiling like we were already married. Finally, the decision was made. My dad stood up and said,
We're ready to bless this union. Let's do the wedding after 2 days.
James looked at me, his eyes wide with joy. I nodded, my heart pounding with happiness. As everyone celebrated and began chatting about venues and dates and dresses, my mom excused herself to use the washroom. I stayed behind, sipping juice and laughing with Hilda, who had, once again, crashed the moment like the honorary sister she was. But time passed, and Mom didn't return. After nearly 20 minutes, I stood up. I'll go check on her. I headed toward the hallway, expecting to find her in the downstairs guest bathroom. But when I passed it, I saw the door wide open and the lights off. She hadn't used this one. I turned and looked toward the staircase. A faint creak echoed from above. Mom was upstairs. I climbed the stairs slowly and spotted her just stepping out of the hallway at the top, heading back toward the living room. When she saw me, she looked oddly calm. "You okay?" I asked. She said lightly.
Yes. Just got turned around and ended up upstairs. I used the bathroom there.
"But there's one downstairs," I said softly, narrowing my eyes. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes.
I was just wandering around. Curious. That's all.
I nodded, even though something inside me whispered that this wasn't over. Not yet. The day after both families agreed to the wedding, my house turned into a full-blown madhouse of excitement. Aunties, cousins, decorators, florists, and people I didn't even recognize were bustling around with fabrics, food lists, candles, and chaos. My living room had officially transformed into a wedding prep battlefield. But despite all the energy and happiness that surrounded me, despite the fact that I was supposed to be the glowing bride, I couldn't ignore one strange, quiet thing. My mom. She was smiling, laughing with the guests, nodding politely, even complimenting fabric choices and appetizer samples. But her smile wasn't real, not like the way she usually lit up when she was happy. There was something underneath it, a flicker of something else, something off. Around noon, I walked into the kitchen where she was standing with a notepad, discussing the food plan with the caterer. The second the man stepped away, I walked up beside her and whispered, "Mom, are you okay?" She turned her face toward me with that same soft smile.
Of course, sweetheart. Why?
You just don't seem happy. She blinked, her face holding still for a second longer than it should have.
I am happy, Amelia. You're getting married. This is every mother's dream.
I tilted my head. Then why do you seem like you're faking that smile? She let out a tiny chuckle, brushing my hair behind my ear the way she used to when I was little.
I'm just nervous, that's all. It's a big day. For you, for us, for our whole family.
I nodded, but something inside me tightened. She leaned in and kissed my forehead.
Stop reading too much into things. Go pick your wedding shoes. Your dad and I already agreed. Nothing taller than 2 inches, or you'll trip walking down the aisle.
I smiled weakly, letting it go. At least for now. By evening, the house was even more packed than before. People were pouring in and out with plates of snacks, fabrics, lighting gear, and floral samples. Every room was alive with chatter and movement. I had gone to my room to change into something more comfortable, and when I came back out, I noticed something. Mom was gone. I checked the kitchen first. Empty. Dining room? Nope. Backyard? No sign of her. I walked through the hallway, glanced around the crowd gathered in the living room. People were too distracted by the music and wedding chatter to even notice she wasn't around. Not even Dad noticed. I tugged on his sleeve gently. Hey, where's Mom? He looked surprised, then glanced around.
She must be somewhere inside, sweetheart. Maybe in the bedroom.
I checked. She wasn't. 10 more minutes passed. Then 15. 30 full minutes later, the front door opened. And there she was, my mom, stepping inside casually like nothing had happened. I met her right at the doorway. Where were you? I asked instantly. She blinked, surprised at my directness.
I went to invite a few friends from the neighborhood.
I narrowed my eyes. You didn't say anything before leaving. She waved a hand.
It was just a quick visit. I didn't want to interrupt anything. Besides, I didn't know they'd keep me so long.
Something about the way she spoke felt rehearsed. I stared at her. Her lipstick looked freshly touched up, and her hair had been repinned, as if she'd fixed it before stepping back in. But I didn't push. Dinner came and went. Hilda stayed, of course, half helping, half eating all the cookies we were saving for the rehearsal dinner. James called to say goodnight, and we shared a moment over the phone before I slipped into my pajamas and laid down. I thought I'd fall asleep instantly, but around 2 a.m. I stirred. Something, maybe a creak, maybe a subtle rustle outside, woke me. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and listened. The house was mostly silent, but then I heard the door. Not my bedroom door, the front door, softly, carefully, like someone was trying not to wake anyone. I slid out of bed, still in my sleeping gown, and tiptoed to the stairs. Peeking down carefully through the hallway shadows, I saw a familiar figure slipping inside. Mom. She didn't notice me. She was holding her heels in her hands, barefoot, like a teenager sneaking in after curfew. She walked gently across the floor, toes pressing down silently, clutching those shoes like they were evidence. I whispered down to her, "Mom?" She flinched, looked up. Her eyes widened slightly, but she quickly composed herself.
Amelia, what are you doing awake?
I came halfway down the stairs, my voice calm but sharp. What are you doing outside at 2 a.m.? She hesitated.
I couldn't sleep. I wasn't feeling well. Thought a walk would help clear my head.
I glanced down at the heels in her hand. Then why were you holding your shoes like that? So they wouldn't make sound. She smiled faintly.
I didn't want to wake anyone.
That smile again, that same smile from earlier. Polite, software empty. But what truly made my breath catch, what made my skin crawl a little, was the rest of her. She wasn't in her sleeping gown. She wasn't even in casual clothes. She was dressed in a deep red blouse, something silky, with perfectly fitted black pants and gold earrings that shimmered slightly when she moved. Her lips were a little smudged, like she had tried to reapply her lipstick in a hurry. This wasn't someone taking a sick walk. This was someone who had been out. Before I could ask anything else, she turned and said,
You should go back to sleep, honey.
and just like that, she opened the bedroom door where my dad was still sleeping and slipped inside, leaving me standing in the hallway, confused, and suddenly very suspicious. Was she seeing someone? Was she sneaking around for another reason? Or was there something else happening? I didn't know what to think. I went back to bed, but sleep didn't come easy. I kept tossing, turning, questioning everything. And as the hours passed and the sun finally began to rise, one thought echoed louder than the rest. What was my mom hiding? The morning of the wedding felt like standing in the eye of a storm, calm only because the chaos was spinning all around me. My house was packed, like standing room only kind of packed. People were everywhere. The decorators were adding final touches. The kitchen smelled like cardamom, roasted almonds, and 100 different spices. Hilda was running back and forth helping everyone. And I saw Dad giving directions to the valet guy like he was running a military operation. James's family had arrived too. His parents looked elegant, smiling gracefully, introducing themselves to guests and acting like the perfect in-laws. I should have felt joy, excitement, butterflies, but all I felt was this weird, hollow feeling in my stomach. It was Mom again. Even in the middle of this fairy tale chaos, I noticed it. The way she smiled with her lips, but not with her eyes. The way she hugged guests a second too quickly. The way she stared off for moments like her mind wasn't even here. She looked beautiful in her navy blue gown, her hair done up, jewelry subtle and classy, but the glow in her face, it just wasn't there. After the ceremony, when the vows were exchanged, and James kissed my forehead in front of everyone like the gentleman he was always, the guests clapped and the music burst out loud again. Everyone was happy, everyone was celebrating. But when I slipped away from the crowd for a moment to catch my breath near the hallway, Mom found me. She grabbed my hand gently, her fingers cold.
Amelia,
She whispered, eyes darting around.
I need to talk to you. It's important. Very, very important.
My heart jumped. What is it? Before she could speak, James appeared from behind, still glowing in his tailored black sherwani.
Mom,
He smiled, placing a polite hand on my mom's shoulder.
I'd love for you to meet a few of our special guests. They came all the way from Canada for the wedding.
My mom hesitated. I could feel her tightening next to me, like she didn't want to go. But she forced that fake smile and nodded.
Of course. Let's go.
She gave my hand one last squeeze and walked off with James. Something was up. I didn't know what, but it didn't sit right. Later that night, after most of the guests had left and the lights around the house dimmed down into warm, golden glows, I found myself sitting alone in James's room. Correction, our room now. The bed was dressed in ivory and maroon sheets. Candles were flickering in the corner. The smell of roses and vanilla filled the air, probably from the decorative oils someone had used earlier. I was still half in my bridal dress, my hair half open, trying to catch a moment for myself. When my phone buzzed. Mom, I answered immediately. Her voice came in hushed, shaking tones.
Amelia, don't make love tonight.
I blinked. What?
I can't explain everything right now, but please trust me. Don't do it. Not tonight.
Mom, what are you talking about?
I'm doing this for your well-being, baby. Just trust me.
And then the line cut. I stared at the phone, stunned. Before I could even think or call her back, I heard the door open behind me. James. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him slowly, then locked it with a quiet click. My breath caught in my throat.
You look
He said as his eyes trailed over me.
absolutely breathtaking.
I forced a smile. Thanks. He walked over, sat beside me on the bed, and took my hand in his.
I've been waiting for this night for so long, Amelia. Finally, we're together. For real.
I nodded, trying to act normal. Yeah, finally. His hand slid up to my cheek, and he leaned in, kissing me softly there first. Then slowly, he moved in and kissed me on my lips. I kissed him back, just enough to not raise alarms, then pulled away gently. "I'm just really tired," I whispered, my heart racing. "So much happened today. Can we sleep?" He tilted his head, eyebrows drawing in.
Sleep? On our wedding night?
I hesitated. "I mean, we have a whole life ahead of us. Let's rest tonight. Tomorrow I'll give you all the love." But his expression changed. A slow, unsettling smile spread across his face.
Not at all. We will make love tonight.
"What?" I blinked, confused and unsettled. "James, what are you talking about?" He stood up, his voice growing darker.
Because it's the rule, Amelia.
"What rule?"
I'm breaking my curse tonight by fully mating with a human like you.
My breath hitched. "Is this a joke? Because I'm not laughing." He chuckled, loud and twisted, stepping closer.
A joke? Oh, Amelia, the joke is you. You're dying tonight. After we mate.
I shot up from the bed, staring at him like he was someone I'd never met. "What the hell are you saying?" He grinned wider.
My real parents lived with Antonio, you know. The people you met? Just actors, that entire show. My house, my cousins, my parents. All staged, all for you.
My heart cracked open. "But don't you love me? Wasn't any of it real?"
Oh, I loved you.
He said, voice mockingly soft.
Just not more than I love my life. And breaking the curse? That's the only thing I care about.
I stepped back. "You're a monster. I loved you, James. I trusted you with everything." He nodded slowly, cruelly.
Yeah, you did. And I used every piece of that. Antonio tried to warn you. Hilda, too. Your mom was the only smart one. But she couldn't stop me because I threatened her.
I gasped. "What?"
She was going to tell you everything. But after you told me that Antonio visited her, I made it clear. If she spilled anything, I'd take you and your father down with her.
I was speechless. A hurricane of betrayal was ripping through me. "James, please. Even if you're cursed, there has to be another way. A fake marriage, a ceremony, something else." He burst out laughing.
Fake? Amelia, this was the fake marriage. I never loved you. And after I break the curse, I'll marry someone sexy, not boring plain girls like you.
I tried to escape, but James pulled me and thrown on the bed like I was a small toy. Tears spilled down my face. "Then what are you waiting for, huh? Break your curse. Do it." He removed his shirt slowly, smirking. But right then, bam! A massive flash of light crashed through the window. Glass exploded into the room. And out of the darkness stepped something huge, something terrifying. A giant werewolf, white-blue fur glowing under the moonlight, teeth bared, snarling. It launched itself at James. James didn't even get the chance to transform. He was thrown to the floor, smashing into the bed frame with a loud crack. I didn't waste a second. While they were grappling, I dashed toward the shattered window. It was the first floor. I'd hurt myself. But staying meant dying. I climbed over the sill, heart pounding, and jumped. The air whooshed past me, and I hit the grasses on the ground hard, rolling across the grass with a grunt. Pain lit up my side, but I didn't care. I stood up, looked back, and through the window I saw James's family still partying downstairs. None of them even noticed the chaos upstairs. Fake, all of it. I sprinted through the garden, barefoot and shaking, trying to call Mom. She didn't answer, but the second I entered the woods, breath ragged, I saw her. She was already there, standing in the moonlight, calm, like she knew I'd come.
Let's go,
she said. I ran to her, shaking. "Mom, James is a monster. I have to tell you everything, but how did you know I was coming?" She held my face gently and whispered,
I'll tell you everything, my child. But first, we're not going home.
The cold night air bit through my skin as I followed my mom through the woods. I was barefoot, my wedding gown dragging behind me, torn and muddy from the escape. My heart was pounding, not just from the run, but from the weight of betrayal. James, the man I thought I'd spend my forever with, had planned to destroy me. And now, I didn't even know who I could trust anymore. We moved through a dense patch of trees, ducking under low-hanging branches, the moonlight guiding our way. My mom kept checking behind us like she expected James to show up any second, claws out and blood-hungry. Finally, we reached a small hidden cabin deep in the woods. There were no lights, just a faint glow flickering through the cracks in the boarded-up windows. My mom didn't knock and open the door. The door creaked open. We stepped into a dim, dusty cabin hidden deep in the woods. I glanced around. Old furniture, worn-out rugs, a crooked picture frame on the wall showing a wolf howling at a full moon. This place didn't feel like safety. It felt like secrets.
Sit,
My mom said softly. I dropped onto a rough leather couch, my hands still trembling. Mom? Where are we? And how did you even know this place existed? She sat across from me, her face calm, but beneath that calm, I saw it. The weight of something she'd been carrying far too long.
This is Antonio's hideout,
She said. I blinked. What? She nodded.
I've been meeting with him for weeks, in secret. Everything you saw, the weird nights I went missing, the strange calls I avoided. It was all about you, about protecting you.
I was stunned. You knew? You knew what James really was?
I did.
She said, her voice steady.
Antonio told me everything. He warned me before James could do anything to you.
Warned you about what? I asked.
That James was cursed.
She said.
And that to break the curse he needed to mate with a human wife. It wasn't about love, Amelia. It was about using you.
I sat back, my chest rising and falling fast. My mom continued.
James is not who he said he was. He had been disowned by his family long ago. And you know why? Because he betrayed the woman he once loved, left her to die. His own parents couldn't forgive him. They banished him.
I felt sick. Yes, those people with whom I met was not his real parents, all fake. She cut in.
All an act. Antonio showed me the truth.
I stared at her. So, Antonio isn't just some guy who showed up out of nowhere? She shook her head.
He's James's brother.
My jaw dropped.
After everything James did,
She said.
Antonio cut ties with him. He swore never to be like his brother. And when Antonio found out what James was planning with you, he came to me, promised to protect you. He took me to meet his real family. They accepted me. They showed me everything. And we planned how to rescue you.
I leaned forward, whispering. So it was Antonio you were meeting in secret.
Yes.
And the curse, it only breaks if James...
If he mates with you.
She confirmed, her voice low.
Not just marriage. Full physical connection. That's why we couldn't wait. That's why you have to marry someone else before James finds you.
My hands tightened into fists. And if I don't?
Then he wins.
My mom said. A beat of silence passed between us. Then I asked, what happens if Antonio defeats James? My mom's face turned grave.
If he wins, he'll come here. But if he doesn't, then we run. Far.
Before I could respond, the door slammed open. Antonio stumbled in, panting, blood streaking his arm. His chest was rising and falling like he'd been running for miles. My heart nearly stopped. Is James gone? He shook his head.
Not at all. But he's injured. Badly. I think I bought us a little time. But he'll be back. And when he comes, he'll be more dangerous than ever.
I stood. Then what should I do now? Antonio looked at me, his voice steady.
Marry someone.
Then, without waiting, he turned toward the road outside. He stepped away.
Antonio.
My mom called. I just stood there, frozen. She turned to me.
Amelia. What are you doing? Stop him.
I looked at her, confused. Why? She stepped closer.
Are you crazy? He risked his life to save you. He could have died tonight. You should choose him. Marry him, Amelia.
I swallowed. I know, Mom. I really do appreciate what he did.
Appreciate?
She scoffed.
You didn't even thank him.
I will, I promise. But I don't know him. Not really. Yes, he saved me, but how can I marry someone I barely know? My mom touched my arm gently.
I know, my love. I really do. But I've been watching him. He's good, honest, loyal. Do it for me, if not for you.
I looked down. Maybe I should just marry a human. She crossed her arms.
Of course. So where is your groom?
I hesitated. We'll find someone,
Oh, sure.
she said with a cold laugh.
And James will wait around politely for you to find one, right?
I let out a deep sigh. Okay, fine. I pushed the door open and ran toward Antonio, who was already steps away from vanishing into the dark. Antonio, I called. He stopped but didn't turn around. I caught up to him, breathless. I know we don't know each other. I know this is all crazy, but I need to ask you for a favor. He turned, eyes locked with mine.
We don't know each other?
He repeated.
I know you, Amelia. From the day I saw you in that club. I liked you every damn day after that. So, tell me what you need.
I swallowed. Will you marry me? He blinked.
What?
I said, will you marry me? His brows furrowed.
Are you serious?
Yes,
I'll do it.
he said, stepping closer.
But you have to understand, I'm a werewolf too.
I know, I whispered, but you're not like James, and thank you for saving my life. He nodded.
Before James finds us, we have to do it. Fast.
There's a church nearby, I offered,
No time.
he said, glancing toward the woods.
We'll marry here. Now.
I reached for his hand. My heart was racing, but my voice was steady. I accept you as my husband. Antonio looked past me to my mom, who stood by the cabin. She nodded slowly, giving him her blessing. Then he leaned down and kissed me.
And I accept you as my wife.
My mom opened the Bible, which she got inside the cabin, flipping through pages quickly. She whispered scripture, placed her hand on our joined hands, and prayed over us. In the moonlight, beneath the stars, it was done. We walked to the church after, just the three of us, and had the ceremony sealed. No crowd, no dress, just truth. Later that night, back at home, I told my dad everything. His face turned pale, but he listened. Then Antonio looked at me.
Amelia, shall we go to my house?
My mom smiled,
Of course.
but I looked him dead in the eyes. Not at all, he froze.
What?
I took a breath. It was just to escape from James. I'm sorry, Antonio. I can't choose you. I won't. Silence.
You're serious?
His voice cracked.
You played me? You used me?
I looked down. I'm sorry. I couldn't find anyone else that fast. I didn't have a choice, so I chose you. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you or use you, but I had nothing else as an option. His jaw clenched. Pain flashed in his eyes, but he didn't yell, didn't argue. He just turned and walked out the door without a word. The night settled around us like a storm that never passed. And I stood there, feeling the weight of something unfinished.
What the hell was that, Amelia?
Mari snapped.
You used Antonio. You married him just to save yourself. Do you even realize what that means to him?
I didn't have a choice, I yelled back, heart still thudding from everything that had happened. It was either marry someone or be taken by James.
Antonio isn't just someone, Amelia. He risked his life for you, and now you've humiliated him.
I looked down, shame curling in my gut. She was right. I had used him. She sighed, voice softening as she touched my arm.
But that's not why I brought you in here. We need to talk. Fast. You're still not safe.
What? I looked up. But I married Antonio, you said.
Yes, but you haven't completed the mating bond.
Her voice dropped.
You're still vulnerable. James can still claim you.
What? I whispered, my mouth suddenly dry. I bolted toward the front door, panic gripping my chest. I had to find Antonio. I had to tell him the truth. Apologize. Beg him to. But when I flung the door open, James was standing there, smiling, calm, like a storm waiting to explode.
I warned you,
He said, voice like ice, staring right past me to my mom.
I told you not to reveal the truth, but you did. So now I'm going to destroy you and take her.
Before I could run, scream, or even blink, James reached forward, grabbed me like I weighed nothing, threw me over his shoulder, and turned into the woods.
Let her go!
My mom screamed, trying to grab his arm, but James shoved her like she was a rag doll. She slammed into the porch column, crumpling with a groan. Mom, I screamed, thrashing. My dad came charging out the door, yelling my name. He didn't make it 3 steps before James swatted him aside like a fly. Stop it, I cried, digging my teeth into James's arm. He didn't flinch. Instead, he laughed, dark and low.
Don't worry, baby. I'll take care of you tonight.
He carried me deep into the woods. Trees blurred past us, and then suddenly we were near a small river, moonlight glittering off the surface. Waiting in the shadows were 5 massive werewolves. Guards. They didn't say a word, just turned their backs, creating a tight circle around us. I was trapped. James dropped me to the ground like a prize, then crouched down and kissed me hard on the lips. I kissed him back, because I needed time, a distraction, an idea. He said,
You have only one choice. Do it and save your family, or...
Then I slowly undid the top 3 buttons of my shirt, just enough to make him fall. James's eyes flicked down. I leaned in, kissed his neck. James touched my skin where my buttons were open. Then he kissed my skin there. There's a problem, I whispered. He narrowed his eyes.
What?
I married Antonio, I said softly, brushing his cheek. And we made love, right after I ran from you. James jerked back.
What?
Yeah, I whispered. But if you still want to continue tonight, I'm yours. His face twisted with rage.
You ruined everything.
He growled.
Now I can't break the curse, and that means you'll take your last breath right here.
I swallowed hard. Wait, there's someone else. He paused.
Who?
Hilda, my best friend. She loves you, always did. She will be your easy prey, and she is always ready to love you. James blinked.
Where is she?
At her house, I can take you. His eyes narrowed.
If you lie...
I won't, I whispered. I want to live. I stood, adjusting my shirt. Come with me, he gave a signal. The guard stepped in behind us, and we started walking. But just when we neared the edge of the forest, something crashed through the trees. A pack of werewolves blocked the path. Antonio stood at the front, eyes glowing, chest rising like thunder. His entire family stood behind him, growling, shifting. James froze.
Attack!
He ordered his guards. The forest exploded into chaos. Wolves lunged, teeth snapped, growls and howls echoed. And I didn't wait. I ran. I bolted through the trees, heart pounding, legs burning. I didn't stop until I saw the warm porch light of my home. I burst through the door. Pack your stuff, now! My parents turned, stunned and bloodied but alive. We're leaving, I shouted. He found me. We have to go, now. They didn't ask questions. We just grabbed bags, slammed drawers, and ran to the car. We were on the road in less than 10 minutes, heading for the airport. I looked out the window, the stars barely visible through the tears in my eyes. I had no idea what would happen next. But one thing was clear. James wasn't done with me yet. And I wasn't sure if Antonio was either. The airport was buzzing with people, announcements echoing through the halls, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. We had made it out, for now. As we sat waiting for our boarding call, my mom leaned toward me.
Amelia, what about Antonio?
I stared at the floor, biting my lip. If he finds me, then I'll tell him I'm his. If he doesn't, then we'll see. She narrowed her eyes.
You're such a...
Bitch! I know, Mom, I muttered. She shook her head with a sigh, but said nothing more. Minutes later, we landed in a new city, a place where no one knew our names. My uncle welcomed us into his warm house with open arms, unaware of the storm we were escaping from. It felt safe, for once, but peace didn't last long. The next morning, I heard a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I padded to the door, still in my oversized t-shirt, and called out, "Who is this?" A deep voice answered.
James, of course.
My stomach dropped. I froze. My hands shook. I was about to back away when the door suddenly swung open. And there stood Antonio. And Hilda. "Antonio?" I gasped. I ran into his arms before I even realized what I was doing. I kissed him, full on the lips, desperate, real, and then turned and threw my arms around Hilda. My mom appeared behind me, just as stunned.
How did you find us?
Antonio glanced sideways.
Hilda sent me the address.
I whipped my head toward her. My glare could have set fire to her eyebrows. But she raised her hands and said,
I did it for you, okay?
I stared for a moment, then sighed. Thank God you did. Inside, my mom looked at me like she knew I hadn't planned any of this, and that I still wanted to kill Hilda for it. But I smiled like I was overjoyed. But in reality, I never wanted this. When my uncle entered the room, his eyes widened.
And who's this handsome young man?
Antonio stepped forward and extended his hand.
Her husband, sir.
My uncle hugged him like he was family already. My mom followed, kissing Antonio on the cheek.
I'm so glad you finally defeated James, and that we're all safe now.
Antonio smirked.
When did I say James was gone?
Silence. He laughed.
I'm joking. He's gone.
We all breathed again. That evening, as the house settled into peace, my mom clapped her hands.
Go get some rest. Pick your rooms.
I pulled Antonio's hand. Come with me. We entered the guest room. He looked around, then turned to me with a quiet voice.
Don't worry. I know you don't love me. Not really. You didn't plan any of this for me. You did it for yourself. And that's okay. I'm only here to say goodbye.
My heart clenched. Are you sure? I mean, I am your wife. He gave me a soft, bittersweet smile.
We don't need to pretend. I'll leave in the evening. I just wanted to make sure you and your family were okay.
His words hit harder than I expected. I nodded. Okay. Then. The day passed with jokes and stories. Everyone adored Antonio. Even my uncle asked if he'd consider staying. Antonio just smiled. Later that night, after dinner, I announced, Antonio is leaving early tomorrow. He's got work in another city. Antonio glanced at me.
I thought I'd go tonight.
I shrugged. You can go tomorrow. We walked quietly to the room. Inside, he pointed to the couch.
I'll sleep there.
Okay, I said, trying not to sound disappointed, because I wasn't. He laid down. I crawled into bed, but I couldn't sleep. Not like this. Hours passed, and I couldn't stop thinking about how selfless I was, about how much I'd taken, about how much he gave. I turned in bed, eyes drifting toward the couch where Antonio slept, his chest rising and falling slowly under the soft light spilling in from the window. I slipped out from under the blanket, bare feet padding quietly across the floor. Then I stopped next to him, heart racing. Antonio, I whispered. His eyes fluttered open. Without saying another word, I lowered myself gently onto his lap, my knees on either side of him. He stiffened in surprise, but didn't pull away. I leaned in, brushing my lips against his cheek. I don't want you to leave, I whispered, against his skin.
Amelia,
Forgive me, please. I can't loose you, he said.
I was never angry on you and
I didn't let him finish. I bite him on neck, and he chanted my name. My hand slowly pulled at the knot of my sleeping gown until it slipped off my shoulders and pulled behind me. I was left in soft, lace, low-cut undergarments that clung to my curves like silk. I felt his breath catch. His hands hovered like he was scared to touch me. So I guided them to my waist, and then lower, letting him feel every inch of my body that pulsed with emotion and longing. Then gently, I took the back of his head and pressed his lips to my chest. He inhaled my skin like he'd been starved of it, kissing slow and deep, like he wanted to memorize me. I felt his every kiss, deliberate, software. I held him tightly, my hands exploring the strong muscles of his back, my fingers clenching slightly. Then I slipped the straps of my undergarment down my shoulders, revealing more true love of myself to him. I've never felt this sure before, I whispered into his ear. His lips found mine, hungry, desperate, and real. I moved against him, our breaths tangled, hearts racing in sync. We chanted each other names. I pulled his hairs tightly, so hard that he chanted my name. My nails made soft marks on his back. My lips found his chest. I bite him again and again. Time melted around us. Our bodies spoke a language only we understood, one of aching want and unspoken forgiveness. Every touch, every sigh, every movement whispered one truth between us. We were finally each other's. The room disappeared. The fear, the past, all melted away. His hands wrapped around me like I belonged there, like I always had. And maybe I did. Because that night, I didn't just give him my body, I gave him everything, and for the first time in forever, I felt whole.